Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Bill. Today is Tuesday, May 23rd. The time is 6 p.m. And we'll call this meeting to order. Ms. Deb, you want to do a roll call?
All right. We've got Mayor Aiken,
Here.
Alderman Schaefer,
Here.
Alderman Renfro. Here. Alderman Jennings,
Here, ma'am.
Alderman Feldmayer,
Here.
Alderman Harder,
Here.
and Alderman Pace is absent.
Alrighty. We do have a quorum for tonight. We do not have any old business. New business, Exhibit A in your packet. We have an ordinance for first consideration adopting our fiscal year 2023 budget. Mr. Town Administrator, you want to bring us up to date on that, sir?
Sure. Good evening, a special call. So a couple of reasons for the amended budget for 23. We got some personnel costs in one department. Judicial amendment is due to an increase in expenditures in the police litigation fees, which we collect, and then we have to send a portion of that to the state. The solid waste fund amendment is revised actual expenditures, and then the drug fund is due to the purchase of the 2 police vehicles. It's pretty straightforward on the amended budget. Happy to try to answer any questions.
Are any of these items of what we just amended? I thought we just amended the budget.
We did that back in, what was that?
It's October.
October?
For the
Been that
spending
long?
plan.
I didn't think it'd been that long.
It's October.
And we didn't amend any of these?
I think that we did the general fund. We didn't amend any of the other ones that I'm aware of. It was only the general fund. And that was relative to the ARPA spending plan.
It was.
Is what was reason we amended it at that time.
That's the reason we're doing fire again?
Yeah, so remember when we discussed the compensation and staffing earlier this year, that we had said as an overall picture of the general fund, because we had unfilled vacancies in planning and inspection and finance and admin, that's where the surpluses were in those 2 departments. In hindsight, probably had the fire department budgeted a little too tight for just their regular payrolls, but you can see it's not much of an adjustment to the fire, about 50, not even $50,000. 45,000, so it's a minor adjustment just for that particular department in the general fund. Everything else in the general fund looks to be well in line.
Motion for equal title only?
I would entertain a motion for the ordinance Exhibit A. I have a motion by Alderman Feldmayer. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Alderman Renfro. Do I have any objection to reading ordinance by title only? Hearing none. Ms. Town Recorder.
An ordinance of the Town of Atoka, Tennessee, amending Section 3 of Ordinance Number 22-06-02 related to approved expenditures for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 22 and ending June 30, 23.
All right. We'll do a roll call since this is an ordinance. Alderman Giannini.
Yes.
Alderman Renfro.
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer.
Yes.
Alderman Harbour.
Yes.
Alderman Feldmayer.
Yes.
And the ordinance is adopted on this first reading. Next in your packets tonight is Exhibit B, concerning adopting our new fiscal year 2024 budget. Mr. Town Administrator.
Sure, and what I did was that you've got your agenda memo that came in your packet, and then you should have a little 2-page brief memo that was on top of your packets at your seating area to try to give a little bit of bullet points and just some quick hits about what's included in the budget. I thought that with the new layout and template of the ordinance format, it would be worthy to just kind of talk about why it looks the way that it does, which I answered in one of those questions. So why is this ordinance format different than what we've used previously? So we've mentioned along the way through this budget process that the comptroller was requiring us to do a few different things, and one of those things was based on that feedback, we're using to a large extent their templated ordinance that they've recommended off their website. So what it does is it shows your audited 2022 numbers, which you, as the board had just gotten recently from our auditor, Jeff Hunter. It shows you where we think we're gonna end up in 23 and then the proposed fiscal year 24 budget. So the fiscal 23 is just an estimate. That may tweak as we get a little closer to the final reading, but the town recorder and I tried to build in some reasonable estimates in there. So that's why that format looks a little different, a little bit more difficult to read, but I also, in the email to the board, also giving you an example of what y'all have been used to looking at the last few years. So it was much different. This is more looking like local government financing and accounting numbers, which they are. So that's why it looks different. Now, what's in the budget? A couple notable things, or several notable items. First, I want to start with why does the bottom line look like it's bigger than it was at the budget work sessions? And it is. Reason for that is that we, after that last direction from the board, we needed to appropriate revenues for the unspent ARPA dollars, even though the board had adopted a spending plan. We had to appropriate it as revenue because we have it's unspent. So then we could appropriate it as an expense and we could spend that money in the new fiscal year. Very similar to what occurred. Some of you might remember how things were with the roundabout, how that kind of carried every year to year to year until those funds were actually finalized and spent. And then we had the $500,000, which is the capital outlay note. You probably recall talking about that. We had $200,000 in the worksheet, in our spreadsheet. There was a placeholder for debt repayment, and we talked about the $500,000 over 3 years. So that $200,000 is still included in there as principal and interest payments for that loan, and $500,000 in revenue because we can't spend the money if we don't appropriate it. So that's why that $2.9 million, if you subtract 2.9 off those bottom line numbers, that'll get you right back down to where we were in work session. So some of the highlighted items we've got in the budget. So we got some forward thinking items, like $25,000 increase for road maintenance and construction. We've got $50,000 budgeted for an early warning siren. You may remember we've got 2 early warning sirens that were not replaced when we put the 3 new ones in. And just a quick side note, the one to the north end has been repaired and is functioning. The one on the south end they couldn't get to because it's down in the hollow there where it's always wet, so they're going to come back out. But they believe they can get that one working as well until it stops working, it could happen at any moment. But we've got $50,000 in there to replace one of those. We have $65,000 put aside to savings for the fire pump rat apparatus replacement, and we'll be setting aside $65,000 for the next 9 years to go towards that. $75,000 towards the Tipton Road Bridge. Last year we budgeted $50,000, and we set $75,000 aside this year, and we'll have to do that for the next 4 years. $50,000 for long-range comprehensive planning implementation. We've got personnel, additional personnel, which, as your memo says, is critical to provide the needs of the citizens. We've got staff improvements and cost of living enhancements in all of the departments. So you're looking at a total of 9 new staff members, 3 police officers, 2 firefighters, 2 public works, 1 parks and rec, and 1 finance and admin. And we've got $100,000 to go towards the initial funding as a loan towards the Atoka Industrial Development Board, and then we've got $110,000 transfer to savings. So that's kind of the highlights. I know that we've met a few times in Finance and Admin Work Committee. We've had 2 work sessions with the full board. Be happy to try to answer any questions that the board might have, and go from there.
I thought we were transferring $134,000 to savings.
We were going to, that was the talk. As we ran some of those numbers, I realized that one of the tourism dollars on the expense, it wasn't calculating properly in the spreadsheet, so that did alter that number slightly, that savings number.
So that change was $24,000,
Yes, sir.
and we've got that in front of us in this draft budget that you've handed us.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Entertain a motion for ordinance labeled as Exhibit B in your packets. Do I have a motion from the board about Exhibit B in the agenda for tonight, adopting the fiscal 2024 budget?
Mark, could you tell me on the, general fund expenditures under finance, 739 on the packet we received at the last work session, and the current one's at 794?
Give me that one more time, I was having a hard time hearing, I'm sorry.
On the packet, the one we received tonight's got under general fund, finance administration's got $739,000 from the last work session, and then this current one's got $794,000.
Yeah, so there's the debt repayment, the debt service repayment for the capital outlay note, and then the capital outlay that you see of 900, and then there was an increase to line 620 and 630. So you've got the capital outlay note expenditure, the one-time expenditure, and then you have your principal and interest payments to go towards the payback. I think that'll be where your difference is. And you'll see that in some of the other departments as well, so police, all the departments that were getting vehicles, police, fire, admin, and parks and rec, all of those departments, you'll see that same thing. You'll see a capital outlay addition and then principal and interest.
Uncommitted ARPA funds?
Does that answer your question, Alderman Schaefer?
It does.
Okay.
You know the other, last one we had, expenses from last week. I left mine in the truck. Desk on. Parking.
What's the question? Be happy to try to answer.
The, other packet thing. I'm seeing things.
Well, take your time. I want to get all your questions answered.
Oh, this is today's.
Come on, help us out, man.
So, the capital outlay changed from 200,000 on the last draft budget to 500 on this budget, right?
You look over, if you have your draft budget from the 16th, you see it's in, we had that placeholder
Blue.
in blue, and the little red note to the side was debt repayment for vehicles. So that was the principal and interest estimate for the outlay note.
But it's 300,000 more than what we thought.
The revenue for your capital outlay note, so the 500,000 that we would borrow for the vehicles, you're gonna see that, you see that in your revenue packet online.
Yeah, I saw the 500 on the new on the.
Yes, so on the loan proceeds on revenue,
I took as if on the 16th that everybody's capital outlay was in the police budget, just have somewhere to stick the money.
it was through repayment, that was the principal and interest payments.
And now it's in the police budget, it's 310.
Correct, so you have You have the 500,000 that's spread out over all the departments in your capital outlay line, which should be line 900 in almost all departments. And then you've got your principal and interest additions, which we tried to spread those out proportionately, so if police was getting more vehicles than admin or fire, that they should be paying the largest percentage of the debt repayment. We figured out it was gonna be about 60% of the principal and interest, so we had to break the principal and interest down by department. So, and the quote that we had gotten back in May, for 500,000 capital outlay note for the 3 years, came in right about 184 on average, so that number is gonna be a little bit lower than the 200,000 in debt repayment annually. It'll be a little bit lower. But I factored it a little bit high, because everybody knows what interest rates are going right now, so it was a little conservative on the principal and interest repayment.
So the 16th capital outlay was 200,000, today it's 500,000.
The 16th was repayment of the capital outlay.
Only the repayment, not the total.
Correct. It was
Paying
just
the
principal and
500,000.
interest. Correct.
But are we paying all the 500,000 back the first year?
No, sir.
Are we budgeting?
Over 3 years, so you've got, we have to budget for the appropriation for the capital outlay, so you have the 500,000. And then this year, we've got debt repayment in 25, debt repayment in 26. Am I explaining that where it makes sense? So you got your 500 coming in on revenue, 500 is going out on expense, so that zeroes itself out. What we have is that roughly 200,000 for debt repayment.
I'm lost, I don't know.
Try it again, Mr. Administrator.
It just, everyone's budget went up. I took it as this 200,000 is
That was what we
What
were
we
buying
were
all the
doing.
cars from.
buying cars from, we were sticking it here, and now it's spread out everywhere, and it's $300,000 more than what we talked about a week ago. Right? Because this one has 200, and this one has 500.
So your revenues are coming in as $500,000, and then you've got expenditures of $500,000, so that zeroes itself out.
But the 16th, we didn't have
We
$500,000.
You did not have the capital outlay, correct. So basically, you got money coming in, money going out at zero.
Of course, we don't have the loan yet, so we don't really have money yet anyhow.
Correct, it's proposed budget. So then you've got your 200,000 that you're referring to, which maybe it wasn't clear enough throughout the process that it was debt repayment. So you've got that 200,000 spread out over the departments that are potentially getting vehicles. It said at the beginning, you take that bottom line expense number and subtract 2.9 million out, you're gonna be real close to where your bottom line number was on the 15th. We just have to show that money as revenue, the ARPA funds and the capital outlay, so we can expend it on the appropriated and expend it on the expense side.
Gotcha.
So we're spending 310, you said for 3 years, only paying back that long for the vehicles?
It'll be, right now, again, going off of the estimate from May, hopefully the interest rates will stay the same if that's the case. It'll be a little bit less than the 200,000, it'll be 183 for the first year, 184 for the second, and might as well say 184 for the third year, so that's assuming the interest rate stays.
So we're budgeting for 3 years out of this current year's budget?
This would be for the first year, yes. So you'd be in the capital outlay note this year and have debt repayment scheduled for this year as well.
So I'm almost there.
Okay.
I can see through the mud.
Well, I'm gonna get all your
So
questions.
if you
answered.
add all the capital outlay up, it's $700,000.
600.
Yeah, it would be close to that, yeah. 500 for your capital outlay note, and then your
Yeah, 200 for
then your
the
debt repayment, yes. Another option, you could push off the debt repayment for a year and budget it for the following year. But, you know, we're gonna have to pay it at some point. So we've got it factored in and proposed for this budget. Let me try it another way, if it's still not clear. So let's say it's 700,000, so 500 plus 200,000, right? You got your capital outlay note plus your 200 in debt repayment. So, but you're coming in, we're putting a $500,000 number in the revenue line.
Yeah, we got to
So
take it in, you got to spend it.
It's not tax dollars,
Right.
it's loan proceeds,
I
so,
got that now.
yep, okay.
That's why I was trying to figure out where
That's
this
okay.
extra
Believe me, it's
300,000 is
complicated.
coming from. So we got
Yes.
40,000. 310 is 350,000. So we're at 600,000.
That's what I came up with.
100,000 back. Well, the fire, part of that money is siren and stuff. And count the car.
Okay. That'd be the difference.
Yeah, so it would equate to 500,000. I don't know if there's any debt repayment in here. I'm sure there's debt repayment in here.
Am I sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me borrow
Yeah,
your
but
paper.
those are in line 620 and line 630, so you'll see,
16?
you'll see some tweaks to those from your May 16th worksheet as well.
I'm gonna wear his paper out, looking at it.
Which lines was that, Mr.
And
Administrator?
in any of the departments that have debt, it would be line 620 and 630. So
Right.
620 will be your principal line and 630 your interest line. So, for example, fire, police, parks and rec, admin, they've all gone up in those principal and interest lines. And that would have been roughly 200,000 spread out over all those departments in a proportion. to
Oh,
the
okay,
amount
it
of
goes up to
money.
620, 630. I'm trying to add up 900. I'm like, we short. Gotcha.
Yeah.
See, I told you, I'm starting to swim.
I think those are really the only changes to the budget, is the showing the revenue that we needed to appropriate, and then adjusting those capital outlay lines in the expense side and the principal and interest.
If the interest rate comes back crazy high, can we use one of the short-term CDs? You know, if we're making 4% on our money and it's gonna cost us 10% to borrow the money, it's really not smart to borrow.
Yeah,
the money.
possibly if we needed to. I think that this quote might be good. We got it May 1st, usually they're 45 to 60 days.
Yeah,
So, you know, if the decision's made and, you know, we'll know that at the beginning of June, I can confirm with our municipal bond rep and get another fresh quote.
they give you money, don't they?
Yeah, we're 5.06% is what the quote is.
Yeah, that's handsome, I guess.
So I think, you know, if we got clear direction, then we can go back to them and say, yep, we want to do this. We can go ahead and start preparing the documents and lock the rate in. And then have it ready to go for y'all in July, if you so choose.
Do we have a motion motion for the fiscal year 2024 ordinance that is in front of you.
I'll make a motion to read by title only. How about that? We're getting started. It's quiet now.
Thank you for that.
We'll get it going right there.
Have a
Please
motion
read it.
by Alderman Feldmeyer, read the ordinance by title only. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Renfro. Any objections? Okay. Ms. Town Recorder?
An ordinance of the Town of Atoka, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30, 2024, and other related revisions to the Atoka Municipal Code of Ordinances.
All right, this is the first reading. Tonight, there will be another reading, maybe on the June 13th meeting, board meeting. This is an ordinance. We'll go by roll call. Alderman Harbour.
Yes.
Alderman Feldmeyer.
Yes.
Alderman Giannini.
Mayor?
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, we're
We
not
haven't
doing
had a
something
motion
like-
yet.
I'm sorry.
This is, we just to read it by title only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion for Exhibit B in your packets?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? I have a motion by Alderman Renfro. Do I have a second?
I got a question first.
Sorry, can we do it during discussion?
Yeah, I'm waiting on the second.
Yeah, he's second.
Alderman Schaper?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Go ahead, Danny.
Appropriations, 11-161-201, and over here it's 11-161-161.
Okay.
I mean, I guess appropriations is a big word for expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the appropriate funds.
Yeah. I
So
just
what,
making sure.
I wanna follow you, so what was your,
On the
Second
ordinance,
okay, on the ordinance?
it has 201, and on the packet, the budget packet has 161. If that makes sense.
What kind of-
So you're on page 2,
Page two.
ordinance?
Yeah.
Oh, he's talking about the last three digits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 11,161,
161,
201.
and this is 11-161, 160. It looks like the 161 just got double typed,
Possibly.
what it looks like, but
What's going on?
He's talking about, here, 11 million.
the 2748
And then
versus
all the
2787.
The bottom line on the expenses is
Right below is 47.
161.
Yeah, so here it is 40, or
Hey,
87.
do some math here quick.
Okay. Good catch.
Glasses on, let's see. Oh, wow, right there, it's like Charlie Brown drawing. Oh. Fuzzy, bad fuzzy. I'll add the first one if y'all want to add the package up.
I'm coming up with a number on in the ordinance.
201.
Hold on a second.
The overage below it is exactly $40 difference. Also.
Well, you said it was 161 on the other?
Yeah.
Because that's $40 difference between that right above.
I bet that's what it is, a typo.
$40.
We can all start calculating. What'd you say?
I'd have to look at my spreadsheet, which I don't have, That's why we have this revenue line. This is all very colorful rainbow. We sat with the auditor to get these particular categories to make everything matched. But it's not on the printout, it's on the spreadsheet, on the computer, in the office. But it looks like there is a difference. The number on the ordinance, looks to be correct. I added up all those line items and they come up correct.
Being 201,
Being 201, yes, sir. It's $40.
so the 2747 should read what? Is it 4087 or is it 07? Did you get?
Give me that again?
Still adding.
Well, there's, if we take the 40 and add it to the total appropriations line, there's a $40 difference in the change in fund balance. So they jive out, but if you're saying 201 is correct,
I would go with that, because it's $40 higher.
yeah, because it was 161, that's a $40 increase.
Yeah, exactly, at $40.
We'll give Alderman Philmeyer time to calculate.
Yeah, this sheet is, 11,161,161. And this one's 11,161,201.
And like I said, without having the categories in the bottom that didn't print out, that's where those numbers on the ordinance came from. So again, it's $40.
Y'all don't be spending that extra 40. I need that 40 bucks.
It's $40.
My training taught me that, watch for that this morning. Watching videos all day.
Mr. Mayor, if I can. Section 7, did they certify that as the rate?
They have not, well, the rate that you have in section 7, the 8226,
Right.
that is
I
what
mean, had they adjusted our rate to the 68, I think it was?
6838, we have not got, we tried to get in touch with folks from the state today, but we haven't gotten that certified rate. The 6838 has come from the county, is what they believe it to be. And they didn't think that it was gonna change very much, if at all. But I'd feel more comfortable having that certified rate. But what we're basing the 8226 off of is the reassessment value. That's what we're basing that off of, and the needs of the revenue there. So assuming that the rate will come back in at 6838, we'll still have to advertise and provide that public notice that we might
So
possibly.
it could still
exceed that.
change a little
It
bit with the
could.
tax increase.
Well, the 8226 is based off the real estate assessment value. It's not based off of the certified tax rate.
I
That makes
thought that was
sense?
the 68 is what it would go to if we did not raise taxes.
If the board were to stick with the certified tax rate, it would be at 6838, or right around there.
Right.
Yes, okay. But the 8226 is based off the assessment. So the three.
Based off the assessment
Yes, if you look at your revenue line, that
Right.
top line, where it says
with
local
the tax
tax.
increase.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify that.
Yep.
So it could change a little bit.
It's a good question.
We could, yes. It's a good question, man.
Yep.
It's very confusing, the certified tax rate and reassessment.
And the fact that we don't have it
And the
yet.
fact that we don't have it yet.
There's a negative. So I know I'm, got to revisit. You made a motion and you seconded it, Alderman Schaefer.
Second.
So we're ready to vote at this time. Any more discussion? It's been read by title only. I think you're good.
Yeah, I have a motion and a second.
Alderman Harper.
Yes.
Alderman Philmeyer.
Yes.
Alderman Giannini.
No.
Alderman Renfro.
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer.
Yes.
Right. That deserves a gavel here.
Motion adjourned.
Hold on. I gotta get all my papers here.
I'm just going by the agenda.
Do we have any citizens signed up? to address the board citizens' concerns?
While Kurt's looking for that, if I could, the water and sewer fund, so you've noticed that you don't have that in this information. We've got the big work session coming, June the 6th, so we're gonna get way out in the weeds on rates and all of those kinds of things. So what I anticipate the timeline being is that we'll have a first reading on water and sewer on July the 13th, or June 13th rather. And then, we'll do the final reading of the budget, the general fund and the drug, state, street aid, and, solid waste. We'll do the final reading on June 13th. We'll have the first reading of the water and sewer rates, if we come to a conclusion from the work session on the 6th. But we'll also have to have a special meeting, which will probably have to be the last week of June, for the final reading of the water sewer budgets. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And if the board has a date, that'd be great. We can go ahead and advertise that. We'll have that advertisement ready to go after water and sewer would potentially succeed on their first reading on the 13th of June. Or if we're undecided, we can wait until June the 6th and then set a date. So it's up to y'all.
That'll still give us time to advertise, or does that push us out further?
It will give us time to advertise, because first reading for water sewer would still be on the 13th. We just want to get that notice out as soon as we can for the special meeting at the end of the month. Because we'll need to get the public notice out for final reading of the general fund, solid waste, state street aid, and drug fund for June the 13th. So we'll get that pushed out tomorrow.
Okay. Any guidance from the board as far as date? Y'all want to wait till the work session on the 6th? Or do it now?
Either's good with me.
She's good.
Said wait till the wait till the
No,
work session.
either's good with me, yeah.
Wait till the 6th.
26.
Wait, 26th, either
Oh,
20th.
you're gonna wait till the 6th?
Yeah, wait till the work session,
Okay.
we'll decide it
That's
then.
fine.
It's a work session.
No problem.
The June 6th.
It's a big one. We're gonna have, there's a lot. I sent you all the agenda on the invite, kind of the topics that we're gonna cover, so, we'll definitely have some.
It's at 5:30, correct?
I believe so.
I have 5:30 in my calendar.
Or 8, no, one is fine. Whichever you'd rather.
And I've got Amanda's bringing walking tacos.
There you go. We'll have something for you for sure.
Debbie, I sent you.
I don't know why, but
Fourth hour.
I don't either.
I emailed you a copy of my 4th hour.
Okay.
Okay, we have already had a motion to adjourn by Alderman Feldmeyer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Harper. Before, I just want to recognize that this is National Public Works Week. So if you see a Public Works guy, give them a hug and a kiss,
Yes.
or shake their hand and say thank you.
Oh, I said a handshake will work, right?
Yeah, shake their hand and say thank you very much.
Include everybody, right?
Yes, so,
As far as the
Don't run away.
hugging and kissing and shaking.
I took them donuts this morning, and it was a good start of the day. The donuts are always a good thing. So, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.